It's on to you, Diane, and the subject of EDI.
Yeah, thanks, Brian. With all of the recent executive orders and so on that Trump has been putting into place in his first couple of weeks in office, there are a lot of people who are hopeful that the issue of EDI or DIE or DEI or whatever you want to call it, basically diversity, equity, inclusion, will be going away because he's basically mandated now, at least within the US federal government. But what I want to look at is what's going on. There's some progress. There's still a lot of pushback going on. And I really think that this is actually a very divisive and regressive thing to be doing, not a progressive thing, as the liberals would say. And also, as some people say on social media, as we have on the slide here, the left can't meme, which is something that basically saying that the people on the left don't know how to make memes that are actually funny. In this case, these are some that I've seen just over the weekend from people that I know personally on some of my social media sites who are on the left. And just to give you an example of the kind of things that they're using to kind of tell people this is all entirely wrong. I'll read them out. Never in the history of ever were the people who were against diversity, equity, and inclusion the good guys. So apparently I'm one of the bad guys. I'll take it. That's fine. And not all Trump supporters are overtly racist or ableist or misogynist, but every one of them decided hating people with brown skin, disabilities, or women wasn't a deal breaker. Own that decision. Well, I would say that's not true because I know people in all three of those categories who do support Trump. So something is going on there. We have the executive order that was signed last week that was called Keeping Men Out of Women's Sports, that was signed on the 5th of February. And it says it is the policy of the United States to resign all funds from educational programs that deprive women and girls of fair athletic opportunities, which results in the endangerment, humiliation, and silencing of women and girls and deprives them of privacy. So you see Trump there surrounded by girls who are clearly pretty happy that this is taking place. So this, as well as some of the other executive orders that Trump has put into place, has given some people some hope. There was another one that ordered basically the DEI terminology to be removed from the federal workforce, federal contracting and spending. So some people have lost their jobs. Large departments have been basically taken away out of the government. There's a lot of unemployed people who were making a lot of money off of the DEI scam. One of the things that's in the show notes, you can read more detail, is that something that's happened to journal articles that are in press or funding applications that were in progress. If they use words such as gender, transgender, pregnant person, pregnant people, LGBT, non-binary, assigned male at birth, assigned female at birth, etc., are now just being, they have to go back to them and they have to have those bits of terminologies removed. And so you can imagine the people that support this are really in meltdown mode. But here in the UK, whether or not this is a result of what Trump has been doing or not, I don't know. But all of the major departments in Whitehall have now dumped the Stonewall diversity schemes. And Stonewall calls this the gold standard for LGBTQ plus inclusion, which they claim on their website is meant to help the success of any company that adopts these schemes. But we're seeing more and more that these are starting to go away. And this includes the Home Office, it includes the Treasury. So again, a lot of the major departments in Whitehall. And what they're finding is that there was a lot of backlash going on because they were prioritizing gender identity over the reality of biological sex and allegedly favoring the trans rights at the expense of women's rights. And I guess we could say men's rights as well. I want to focus here on a tribunal that's going on currently up here in Scotland in Fife. There's a tribunal in Dundee for this woman, Sandy Peggy, who is a nurse in the NHS Fife area. She has been suspended from her job for not wanting a so-called trans woman, biological man, in the women's changing room at work. And she felt obviously uncomfortable that for her that there was a physical man, biological man, changing clothes in front of her. This is a doctor that now wants to be referred to as Dr. Beth Upton, is the name that this doctor is going by, who was in the women's changing room. And there were a couple of things going on that basically Dr. Upton felt like misgendering was offensive. And so she's been suspended for this accusation. One of the most ridiculous things that happened leading up to the start of the tribunal was that she had to get special permission to refer to Dr. Upton as a he, him, as a man, because that is in fact what he is, and that's what she believes Dr. Upton is. But she had to get special permission to be able to do that. So there's been accusations on both sides about being harassment, about being disrespectful, about misgendering, and so on. So we'll continue to watch that because I believe the tribunal is still ongoing. This next one is something that was sent to me by a UK column member and friend. This actually started in 2022, but it's worth it. It's just come out recently in the mainstream media. The Science Museum has a tour called Seeing Things Queerly. Legos are heteronormative. And I just want to read this quote out to show you what it's saying about Legos, which all children play with. Like other connectors and fasteners, Lego bricks are often described in a gendered way. The top of the brick with sticking out pins is male. The bottom of the brick with holes to receive the pins is female. And the process of the two sides being put together is called mating. This is an example of applying heteronormative language to topics unrelated to gender, sex, and reproduction. Now, the friend who sent this to me made the point of, if a person is non-binary, then perhaps that might be like the game Jenga, where there are no pins or no holes or nothing, but nothing works anyway, and you struggle to keep it all together. So we're not really sure how that works out. Yasmin Benoit is the next person I would like to go on to, who has made a name for herself, I think it's a her, as a lingerie model, as an asexual lingerie model. So that is someone who doesn't experience sexual attraction or very little, is now also a visiting research fellow at King's College London in the area called the Policy Institute. She doesn't seem to have a PhD. She doesn't have a publication record. I don't know what she's done other than be an asexual lingerie model. But anyway, she now has an appointment at King's College London. And she's been part of this report that came out earlier this month on asexuality across the UK. They surveyed 400 people, I believe it was, about their public attitudes towards people who experience little to no sexual attraction, making the point that asexuality is not protected as a sexual orientation. And so they're worried about being prosecuted under hate crime laws, while also leaving the community vulnerable to continued medicalization and conversion therapy. Outside of the human sexual spectrum, we now have an Australian high school teacher who identifies as Miss Purr. Miss Purr is a teacher at there she is with her whatever it is, a photograph up there, Marsden State High School in Queensland, Australia, where she teaches. And students say that Miss Purr has been hissing at students and licking their hands. So it's not just the students who are now identifying as cats, it's now also the teachers. So to raise these issues, I want to go and just play a short clip from the Representative Jasmine Crockett, who is a Democrat from Texas serving in Congress currently. And I want you to hear what she had to say about race on CNN recently.
That's what's happening right now. I am tired of the white tears. Listen, if you are competent, you are not concerned. When I walk into Congress every single day, you know why I don't feel a way and why you can't make me doubt who I am is because I know that I had to work 10 times as hard as they did just to get into the seat. When you look and you compare me to Marjorie Taylor Greene or me to Lauren Boebert, there is no comparison. And that is the life that we have always lived. So the only people that are crying are the mediocre white boys that have been beaten out by people that historically have had to work so much harder. This is why they don't want us to have education.
So, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert are both white women serving along with her. And you can hear that the hate, the anger that's going on in there. Just a couple of stories about universities and race that kind of puts that in perspective is that the universities in the UK are now being required to champion diversity, basically showing how many students they have that are not white. To kind of show how much funding is coming in for those students that are not white, so Black, Asian, mixed race, and so on. So that has to be a higher percentage now. Otherwise, the universities will start to lose their funding from the government. And that is all, again, part of EDI initiatives. And recently, Oxford and Cambridge are saying that they're no longer going to have traditional exams if they can possibly help it, because that will improve the results of minorities. They want to use inclusive assessments, such as open book exams or take-home papers, instead of the traditional in-person exams, which to me sounds a bit racist personally. And with that, I want to close with a video clip from Martin Luther King in 1963. And I want to point out that this leader of the Civil Rights Initiative in the United States wanted equality and not equity. And I believe that he would probably be seen as racist today. Let's have a reminder of what he said.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will they be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream. My 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
So it's interesting to me, Brian, that in the process of what is seemed to be going forward, we're actually going backward away from what he wanted. He wanted us all to be sitting at the table and be judged by our character and what we bring to the world and not by our skin color. EDI does the exact opposite to me, and that's just my opinion.
I absolutely agree, Diane. It should be so simple. We should just be people getting on with our lives, enjoying our families, enjoying our communities, but it's all made ever more complex. And of course, the media and the global media are fully behind the divisive policies which are now unfolding and